good is considered to be a good provided by the government because of its belief that in general consumption is desirable. Education and libraries, for example, are often freely provided. It is argued that the superior wisdom of governments based on a detailed research approach justifies them in assuming a paternalistic role. Now, merit goods have a huge disproportionate social impact on economies. Examples such as healthcare and education have positive externalities associated with them. In addition, government intervention may occur to prevent exploitation of customers by the private sector and by private sector providers of essential services. In the UK, millions of people own shares of such services, and this is held up as a success story for UK industry. Dramatic restructure of the former Soviet Union, referred to as perestroika. Reforms of small, private, service-oriented businesses have been encouraged by President Gorbachev's reforms. Workers may sell surplus, manufacturers of state-owned companies, and form cooperatives to bring more products to market. And finally, the United States of America is a mixed economy. Provision of education and limited provision of basic services such as medical care. And if you have been reading of late the success and failures of the US attempt in things such as Obamacare. Regulation of essential services such as energy, telecoms and transport. Strategic support of various companies for defence and economic purposes indirectly. Internal provision of security services and provision of national defence directly. An example of economic market type in the spectrum between command and market-based economies are shown. That's as of 2010. As you can see, the fundamental market economy would be, at the moment, arguably the USA. Then you go through various mixes from Singapore and the UK through to France and all the way through then to the command economies through to North Korea of today. If you see the bottom, you'll note at the bottom of the diagram, you'll notice that market as a means of allocation of resources is inverse to control by government over the allocation of resources. So if you have a strong governmental control over resource allocation, you'd have a weak market control as a means of allocation of resources. Problems of transition when centrally planning in an economy is reduced. Basic principles. Since 1991, there has been a widespread recognition of benefits of limiting government control and stimulation of markets through ready application of competition in the private sector. Western living standards have been on the increase, with consequential increases in both quality and range of goods and services available for the populations. When an economy undergoes transition from a plan to or command situation to a market arrangement, there is a period in which the populace is dissatisfied or the quantity and range of goods and services available to them due to the previous poor quality planning and coordination. High levels of environmental degradation may be experienced as previous levels of environmental beauty were underappreciated, as they did not add productive value to the production process. In the previous absence of profit motive, inefficient production methods may have thrived. Also, improvements in productivity were not rewarded, with higher wages to those managers and management introducing them. An overall desire to maintain full employment may have led to overmanning or workers being in inappropriate jobs, therefore decreasing efficiency further. And this itself leads to a fall in export following embracing the free market. The countries in Eastern Europe that are developing market economies are often referred to as transitional economies. Both the Central and East European economic countries, CEE, and those previously connected with the Soviet Union, and also the Commonwealth of Independent States Group, CIS, are known as transitional economies. Problems of transition appear widespread. Inflation. Prices increase and do so to high rates. Both demand-led and cost-push inflation is thought to occur. Governments tried to stimulate sensitive industries into life again by printing money, this leading to money inflation once more. Russia was particularly encumbered by this problem. Industrial unrest. Due to high and rising prices, workers pressed for wage increases and increased job security. For example, the Russian mining strikes in the 1990s. Changing pattern of international trade. The previous arranged trade blocs, such as Russia's Comecon, the Council for Mutual Economic Assistance, around 1949, facilitated and managed trade situations. Dissolved in 1991, former trading bloc members had to build new trading relationships with other countries, this taking time and being expensive. Change in patterns of employment. Significant structural employment changes occur, post-free market being embraced. Unaccustomed to retraining, some regionalised workforces find this difficult. An initial fall in living standards. State-run enterprises begin to die when exposed to market forces. Insufficient market-side experience, pool from which to draw skilled individuals and entrepreneurs for setting up new healthy firms. A lack of welfare systems. Limited to no welfare state exists initially. Therefore, some isolated and deprived groups of individuals suffer extreme hardship. A lack of markets. The economies, when initially in transition, lack the robust functional capital, labour and goods markets experienced in the West. A need for microeconomic reform to ensure these markets develop healthily, both factor and goods markets with legal frameworks and individual intellectual property rights being established as required. Macroeconomic reform. Economic base for macroeconomic reform is not present. There is a need for a widespread taxation policy from which the obsolete non-existent enterprise structure can be stimulated through renovating the bank system. Relationships with the EU become slowly strengthened through trade, and existing trading relationships are extended. Technical assistance. TAGIS is extended to the CIS from the EU to assist in transition and help with reforming services, education, public administration, and improvements in nuclear safety and environmental improvements. Private sector improvements and infrastructure investment projects provided for by loans from the European Bank for Restoration and Development, which is known as the EBRD. Grants become available from an extension of the original FAIR programme, Bologna and Hungary, to all of the CEE countries. Association agreements reduce trade restrictions, providing technical assistance, and develop closer economic and political links with the EU and worldwide in general. The role of government in transitional and economic arrangements must now be discussed. Governments must seek to solve problems by offsetting various issues and implementing measures to tackle them automatically in future. They must do this through the creation of a legal framework, through supplementing and modifying the price system, redistribution of income and market stabilisation. In summary, we've discussed there are three types of main economy. However, for the purpose of contrast, it is normal to contrast the free market and command perspective. So then, types of economy. On one side, with the free market, where decisions are made by individual buyers and sellers who act through their own self-interest. Producers aim to maximise profit, acting rationally. Consumers aim to maximise utility, and the price mechanism allocates resources. On the other side, we've got the command or planned economy, where decisions are made by central planning agencies, state ownership of resources through big government, prices are set by the state, motive for production is social welfare, and there's a distinct lack of market forces. Because of this, there are disadvantages and advantages to each of these approaches. Let us discuss each in turn. The advantages of the free market: resources allocated by market forces and a price mechanism. Adam Smith's invisible hand. No government intervention. The profit motive provides an incentive to reduce costs and be innovative. Free market maximises community surplus if there is no failures and imperfection. These are concerns and also advantages which we will discuss later in depth in a later module. Disadvantages of the free market: market failure and imperfections, public goods, merit goods, externalities, market instability, income inequality, information problems, market power, factor immobility. These things again we will discuss in a future module. Advantages of the command or planned economy. Government can influence the distribution of income to make it more equal. Government can determine which goods are supplied. It can also prevent the production of socially undesirable goods. Disadvantages of the command or planned economy. Requires an enormous amount of information. Often bureaucratic. No incentive for innovation. Poor quality of goods and limited choice for consumers. Liable to lead to allocative and productive inefficiency due to lack of competition and no profit motive.